This case took place between 1861 and 1896. Records from that time are incomplete, and many details remain debated by historians. You've heard of haunted houses. But what if I told you there once stood a house designed not for the living, but for death? A building where walls hid secrets, doors led nowhere, and the owner held the key to every fate. This is the story of America's first documented serial killer, Herman Webster Mudgett, better known as H. H. Holmes. Childhood of Herman. Webster Mudgett Holmes was born on May 16, 1861, in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. He was the third of four children in a farming family. His father, Levi, worked as a farmer, painter, and trader, but behind closed doors, he was also a violent alcoholic who beat his children mercilessly. Herman grew up in this atmosphere of cruelty, and like many killers we know today, his disturbing habits began early. He tortured animals. He dissected them. Sometimes he even carried their remains home. Most families would be horrified. But since Herman showed interest in becoming a doctor, people dismissed these actions as practice for medical school. And while other children played outside, Herman preferred studying alone. His intelligence made him a target of bullying. In one incident, classmates forced him to stand before a human skeleton. They pressed its bony hands against his face, hoping to terrify him. But instead of fear, Herman felt fascination. He studied the skeleton's structure with curiosity, every bone, every joint, every detail. This fascination with death never left him. Despite his dark obsessions, Herman excelled academically. At just 17 years old, he married Clara Lovering, and soon they had a son together. But domestic life didn't stop him from pursuing higher education. Holmes enrolled at the University of Michigan Medical School. There, his talents in anatomy grew, and so did his darker ambitions. Holmes befriended Professor Herdman, and together they committed grave robbing. In the late 1800s, medical schools struggled to obtain cadavers for teaching. Holmes saw an opportunity. He stole bodies from graves, dissected them, and sometimes carried parts back home to study. Even worse, he used corpses for insurance fraud. He created fake identities, staged deaths, and claimed payouts. The dead were becoming his business. At the same time, his marriage was collapsing. Clara endured physical abuse from Holmes and eventually left him. But Holmes had no shortage of women to charm. Handsome, intelligent, and soft-spoken, he lured women easily, promising love, marriage, and security. In reality, they were pawns in his growing web of lies. The move to Chicago. By 1886, Herman Webster Mudgett was ready to reinvent himself. He moved to Chicago and adopted a new name, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes. This new identity gave him credibility. He found work at a local drugstore, impressing the owners with his polite manners and medical knowledge. But behind their backs, he was already stealing money. Holmes wasn't content with just a job. He wanted more: money, power, control. So across the street from the drugstore, he purchased a plot of land. And there, he began construction of a building that would later shock the world. To outsiders, it looked like a grand hotel, a place for comfort, safety, and rest. But inside, it was something else entirely. Walls that led nowhere. Rooms that no one could escape. This was not a hotel. It was a trap.